Hello and welcome to the Yellow Duke Scotland. In this video I will be visiting Silvanus, a giant sculpture of a Roman soldier's head. It's located at Nethercroy, just south of Kilsyth, very close to the course of the Antonine Wall, which was, for a time, the northernmost frontier of the Roman Empire. Silvanus was commissioned as part of a project called Rediscovering the Antonine Wall. In 2007, the Antonine Wall became part of the UNESCO World Heritage Site called the Frontiers of the Roman Empire. This World Heritage Site includes the Antonine Wall, Hadrian's Wall, and the Limes Germanicus, the German frontier of the Roman Empire that stretched between the Rhine and the Danube. Silvanus was designed by the artist Svetlana Kondakova. She created it in collaboration with Gordon Simpson of Big Red Blacksmiths. Here she is with Gordon just after Silvanus was completed. Gordon's dog Nippy getting in on the act there as well. There are 2 or 3 ways to get to the sculpture, but I started off at the car park at Auchinstary. I walked beside the Forth and Clyde Canal for a bit until the path took a sharp right. There were a couple of forks in the road, but I kept to the left until I reached Silvanus. Silvanus is really impressive when you first see it. It is 7 meters high and is made of weathering steel. The sheer size of it is stunning, as is the crested helmet and the face of the soldier. It's got real impact. It was named Silvanus after a public vote. Silvanus was the Roman god of the woods. Let's have some background and consult the map. The Roman Empire reached its greatest extent in 117 AD under the Emperor Trajan. This is how it looked at the time. Up here in the remote northwest corner of the empire, the Roman province of Britannia. As we can see, Rome hasn't quite conquered the whole island. It hasn't subdued the barbarians in the north. But to digress for a second, the Roman army was comprised of men from all over the empire, not just from Italy. We have evidence that the legionaries who guarded the Antonine Wall were from Germany and Syria. To avoid any possible conflict of loyalty, a Roman soldier would be posted somewhere other than his native land. So if you were an ancient Briton who decided to join the Roman army, you would have been posted to a faraway hotspot, perhaps Germany or the Danube or Syria or even North Africa. It was quite a good career option for a young guy by the standards of the time. You had to sign up for 25 years, but if you were still alive by the time you retired, you received a plot of land and a good pension. Trajan died in 117 and Hadrian became emperor. He decided to forget about conquering the whole island and to build a wall that would establish a formal frontier in Britain. This became known as Hadrian's Wall. But when Antoninus Pius became emperor in 138, he decided to extend the frontier further north, and he began his wall, the Antonine Wall, in 142. The Antonine Wall took 12 years to build and was completed in 154. but it was only in use for 8 years. Marcus Aurelius became emperor in 161, and he abandoned the wall in 162. The Romans retreated to Hadrian's Wall, and that remained the frontier of the empire in Britain until the Romans left for good in 410 AD. Why was the Antonine Wall abandoned? We don't know. Perhaps the Caledonians and the other tribes in the north were too hostile, and the wall suffered too many attacks. Or perhaps the Romans got too little in the way of taxes from the poor farming communities in this area, and it just wasn't worth it. Or perhaps Marcus Aurelius needed the troops for his campaigns in Germany. We just don't know. This is Antoninus Pius. Rome suffered throughout its history from emperors who were tyrants or just plain insane. Think Caligula. Think Nero. But there was a long period when Rome had 5 consecutive good men as emperors: Nerva, Trajan, Hadrian, Antoninus Pius, and Marcus Aurelius. 5 wise, humane, benevolent emperors who became known collectively as the 5 good emperors, and under whom the empire was generally stable and prosperous. Antoninus Pius ordered the construction of the Antonine Wall, but he never visited Britain himself. In fact, it is said that he didn't get personally involved with military campaigns, and that in the whole of his life he never actually saw a Roman legion. The Antonine Wall ran from the River Clyde in the west to the River Forth in the east. It was a turf wall rather than a stone wall, and it had a wooden palisade on top. There were 24 forts along the wall from Old Kilpatrick in the west to Caradon in the east. The sculpture Silvanus is to be found near the site of the Croy Hill Fort.
Okay, guys.
See ya.
See ya.
Now this sculpture, the head of a Roman soldier, he's looking out towards the north. Actually, this is towards the north of Scotland, where all the hostile Caledonians lived. And the Antonine Wall is not right on this path where the sculpture is. It's just a little bit behind. Was where it actually ran. But this would be the view anyway that they got when they looked out over the wall towards the north.
Something over the Quaker and something at bowling.
Alright,
Another day's out. Another day.
oh, there's a lot of it around, you know.
Stones. This is a replica of a Roman distance stone, showing a prisoner captured by the Roman army along with Triton, a sea god, holding an anchor. Triton, prisoner.